Our major concern is that this document looks to us like a heresy. It reads like a heresy, and it effects heresy.
Wow. Fiery words from Bishop Tumbuka in Malawi, Africa, pushing back on Fiducia Supplicans. Pope Francis signed Fiducia Supplicans. Cardinal Fernandez distributed and published Fiducia Supplicans, and bishops around the world are not happy. They are pushing back. And we're going to get into the fiery homily on Christmas Eve from Bishop Tumbuka on why he is pushing back and why he is being critical of this and the risks he's taking of that coming up next. By the way, my name is Joe McLean. I host a radio program called A Catholic Take, where we look at the world through a Catholic lens. I'd love for you to hang out with us. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and let us know what you think in the comments below. Fiducia Supplicans. It has received some pretty big and heavy pushback. There's an article out of the Catholic World Report. I'm going to link to it below. And while you're down there, smash the like, you know what I'm saying? There are many bishops who are in that fence-sitting category. They've played that middle of the ground. They've tried to stay out of trouble, just kind of go along, sneak past, make it to retirement. That's all they got to do. And now they're realizing they can't do that anymore. That day may have come and gone. The time to make a choice is now. And we live in stark times. And I think we're seeing that in this story. But I think appearances are the key, because the document has restated church teaching. Cardinal Fernandez himself has doubled and tripled down on that. It does not teach error. It does not teach error. Yes, but that's not the question. So anybody who's trying to say, but Joe, read the document. I did. I did it in the video last week. Of course, read the document, read it directly to you. You're right. It does reiterate church teaching, but does it allow for an appearance that takes a closer step to the abyss, to leaping off the edge into the fiery pit of hell? That's the question, because appearances are big in this particular aspect. In fact, here's an article, I'll link to it, out of the New York Post. A Catholic priest at a Catholic church in Italy, outside of Naples, has a blasphemous display. Jesus with two moms. And when pressured, he doubles down on it and says, no, the families are made up of all types today. Golly gee whiz, does that sound like Fiducia Supplicans to anybody? It sure does to me. So maybe, just maybe, although the document doesn't formally teach heresy, maybe, just maybe, its ambiguity is being leveraged to bludgeon church teaching to death. Maybe that's really what's going on here. So anybody who says, but it doesn't cheat, it's missing the plot. You're missing the plot. Let's see what the bishop says here, because I think he might just maybe have an opinion.
The document asks us to bless two people of same sex as individuals, but not as a couple. So these two people of same sex, who the previous night slept together like a couple and present themselves to us as a couple, are blessed as individuals, but they leave our presence as a couple. They go to their home as a couple. They sleep in the same bed as a couple. But the document says that they are not blessed as a couple, although they appear to have been blessed like a couple. How could this be, not changing the authentic teaching of the church?
Isn't that the $64,000 question right there? How could it be that we allow these appearances? Golly gee whiz, Joe, but they're not blessing the couple. They're blessing the individuals there standing next to each other. The bishop makes it clear that the contrast here couldn't be greater. The hypocrisy in all of this couldn't be more clear to us. You're talking about blessing individuals. At what point was blessing individuals not a thing? It's always been a thing, forever, going back to antiquity. It's always been a thing. The priest, the bishop, could always bless individuals. No matter what, he could bless individuals. That's never been a problem. So what do we need a document to teach us about this for, if it's not for allowing for the appearance? But Joe, the document says they can't have like the dress, the pomp, the circumstance, the ritual, the liturgy of a marriage. They're just getting a blessing. And the point I made last week was, what do you think is going to happen when two men, Jim and Bob, show up in their tuxedos randomly? Father, can you bless us? Why are you guys in tuxedos? What's with the family and friends and the photographer and the what do you think the priest is actually going to shut that down? You think Father James Martin would shut that down? Probably not. Do you think that this priest out of Naples is going to shut that down? Doesn't seem likely. It seems like he's going to think he can run with that. Like many priests, like the National Catholic Reporter, like America Magazine, they all think that this opens the door to blessing same-sex couples as couples. The document states it's a blessing for couples, and the good bishop here is pointing out the hypocrisy in that. You can't ignore it. He's what I refer to as the canary in the coal mine.
Many of you have asked me, why did the Holy Father sign such a document? Unfortunately, I don't know why. The simple answer really is that we don't know why the Pope was allowed to sign this document. Some have said his advisors didn't want to stop him because they were afraid of him. But what would they be afraid of? What would they lose by defending the truth? Some have said they wanted to please him so that he can please them. How? I don't know. It is very hard for me to give you, the faithful of this diocese, why the Holy Father signed this document. Our stand as a bishop in Malawi here, but my stand also, because I'm talking to you, the faithful of Karonga. We, in this diocese, and certainly in Malawi, are not going to allow the recommended blessings of same-sex union in our dioceses.
Big, clear statement there. We will not allow Fiducia Supplicans to be implemented in our diocese. When I was in Rome a couple of months ago filming a documentary film, which, by the way, is going to be linked up below. Check it out. Please do. I interviewed Bishop Joseph Strickland. I interviewed a bunch of Michael Matz in it. I interviewed a bunch of people, Edward Penton. But I also interviewed a politician from Africa, and she made this point very clear. The Africans don't want any part of this. They don't want to put up with it. They demand their bishops and priests to defend traditional marriage between a man and a woman. And how many around the world have not defended, in fact, gone the other way and tried to embrace error and confusion and all the other perversities that we're seeing in our society today? They're not putting up with it. They do not want this. They do not like this. They are very critical and outspoken. And this bishop is taking a risk, and he knows it. He said so at the beginning of his homily. I'm going to link to the whole thing below. You should listen. And he talks about that. He's taking a big risk by saying this publicly. And that's my point, is there is so many bishops in that middle of the road category. They've played it safe their entire career. They just got to get to retirement. That's it. They can't do that anymore. That ship has sailed. They aren't rad trads. They aren't denying Vatican II. They aren't radicals. They aren't bishops. They're not even Bishop Strickland. They aren't those things. But they're realizing that they can't sit on that fence any longer. That they've got to take a stand, and that stand has to be for truth itself. And they are coming out and being bold. Let's listen.
It is very sad for me that for the first time in the history of the Church, a document released from the Holy See, signed by the Holy Father, is rejected by his fellow bishops and publicly rejected. It's sad. The Catholic Church is old as Christianity itself. This has never happened before. But we have no choice.
No choice.
We cannot allow such an offensive and apparently blasphemous declaration to be implemented in our dioceses.
That is bold, bold statement. I get it. You like to dismiss the radicals, right? I mean, you want to dismiss Cardinal Burke and Cardinal Mueller and Bishop Schneider and Taylor Marshall and all the rest. The radicals. You want to dismiss Bishop Strickland. You don't like what they say. They're just being mean to His Holiness, and you don't want to hear any criticisms of His Holiness or the hierarchy or any of that stuff. I get it. I understand. But he's not a radical. He's what I call a canary in the coal mine. And when the canary starts squawking, you've got problems and you need to be paying attention. And you can't just ignore the fact that these bishops, they're ordinary men. They're ordinary bishops. They're not radicals. They're not on the fringes. They're not out there. They aren't trying to rock the boat just to rock the boat. They're defending truth itself. And you need to be paying attention. This represents a major shift in the scandals growing in the church today.
Accusations against us. Those who have seen our rejection of this document have accused us of many things. First of all, that by sticking to rules of the church or the scripture and tradition of the church, we prevent carrying out our responsibility as pastors effectively. Some have told us that we should be willing to explore new paths and new roads in governing the local churches, such as blessing same-sex unions. Some have said that we should not be ideologically rigid in our faith and in our pastoral work and in teaching our faith. Instead, we are being told and encouraged to allow our doctrine of the faith to change alongside ideological changes taking place in the world.
Is Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever? Seems like St. Paul might have said that, huh? The bishop here is making a clear statement. He's being courageous and bold.
Social and political changes taking place in the world, so that the faith may be modern, so that the church might be modern. In other words, we are told that in fulfilling our responsibility as successors of the apostles, leading people to God, we should be fashionable. Unfortunately to all these accusations, our response is clear. Please keep your lies for yourself.
Woo! Did you catch that? Keep your lies for yourself. Bishop Tumbuka from Malawi in Africa, thank you for your courage to proclaim the truth, to say that truth out loud in spite of what may happen. I mean, is he going to get an apostolic visitation? Are any of these bishops who are speaking out against Fiducia Supplicans going to get apostolically visited? Or more to the point, Your Eminence, Cardinal Fernandez, will you be defending your own document against people that would use your document to towards error and abuse and heresy, like, say, recognizing same-sex unions, which your document claims not to do? If priests and bishops quote your document in their defense of doing those things, are you going to apostolically visit them? I wonder. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I do wonder. Nonetheless, we have to pray, fast, and do penance for good bishops like Tumbuka here from Malawi, because he is doing the courageous thing, the bold thing, the real thing. Because in the end times, heresy will grow, error will spread, and confusion, chaos, and civil division in the church and out of the church will become more and more apparent. We have to choose a side. I choose the side of Christ and his Holy Mother Church and truth itself, because he is a person, Jesus Christ. So, what is your choice? And what do you think? Leave a comment below. Let's pray for Bishop Tumbuka and all good and holy bishops that stand up for truth courageously in these dark times. God love you.